This is a report from the Los Angeles Times. An Israeli man at work on a kibbutz and an 8-year-old Palestinian girl at play at the Gaza Strip died Thursday in an aerial attack by Hamas in Israel. An increase in cross-border violence that could set back Egypt's effort to forge a truce. Hamas, an Islamic group that advocates Israel's destruction, claim responsibility for firing 3 mortar rounds, calling the attack an answer to, quote, non-stop aggression against our people. Page 255. This is a list of rocket attacks against Israel, and it's from page 255 to page 263. From the years 2009 up to the present. I'm moving on to page 264. This is, at page 264, bundle number 5, is a list of suicide attacks and other bombings attacks in Israel since the Declaration of Principle in September 1993. The source is from the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's from April the 6th, 1994 until, it's quite long, until November the 21st, 2012, until page 272. So it's from page 264 to page 272. Human Rights Watch also has come up with a whole paper on, entitled Erase in a Moment, Suicide Bombings, Attacks Against Israeli Civilians. That is from page 273 all the way to page 396. I move now to bundle number 6. Bundle number 6 at page 158. I have referred to this before. I will try to speed up the submissions. At page 158 of bundle number 6, that is the Palestinian National Charter, and as my co-counsel has referred to, we are referring now specifically to Articles 9 and 10. Armed struggle is the only way to liberate Palestine.
Counsel, can I, you're going to have quite a messy thing after the lunch. Hurry up.
I will,
3 more minutes.
I have about half an hour. I'll try to. If.
It's very fair now.
Oh, I see. About half an hour. I will try to wrap it up in 20 minutes. So I'm just drawing your attention to Article 9 at page 159. Armed struggle is the only way to liberate Palestine. This is the overall strategy, not merely a tactical phase. Article 10, commando action constitutes the nucleus of the Palestinian Popular Liberation War. May I just point out bundle number 6, page 193. 193, which is the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the nature and extent of Palestinian terrorism, 2006. And the report of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at page 199, Hamas exploitation of civilians as human shield. That's the position of Israel. On the issue of borders and checkpoints, we were shown the video yesterday. I will comment a bit on that. But the analogy is to immigration laws, borders and checkpoints. Places have a right to countries have a right to say who can come in, who can come out. That's what we go through at immigration, show your passport and such. And then that analogy also can be made from the laws of Malaysia, whereby a peninsular person from Peninsular Malaysia can be prevented from going into Sabah and Sarawak by those two respective state governments. Now, if we can still remember that video yesterday showing what really happens at a checkpoint, it was obviously filmed surreptitiously. Now, the sequence about the man with the yellow car who was going to his wedding, and the Israeli soldier, stops him, and there was the normal pleading, and I'm going to my wedding, I have henna, a bag of henna. soldier was not abusing him. He was just being a normal person standing guard. Even when that man's red pass falls down, the soldier picks it up from him. The soldier treated that Palestinian man in the red car who was going to his wedding with contempt. He would say, pick it up yourself. That sequence after that, the sequence directly after the one with the yellow car, the Israeli soldiers, in my opinion, were reasonable as a member of a security force. Any guard or at a mall would be, because the person was quite irate.
The fact is that there are checkpoints to go from one village to the other, one town to the other. Surely that appears to be a violation of basic human rights.
But Malaysian context, again, Sabah and Sarawak has in recent memory prevented people from entering their borders. Alright.
That should be challenged in the court.
Yes. Alright. I will not name those persons, so obviously. Now the sequence after that, the Khan Yunis Gaza Strip. Now this is the point I'm trying to make. We always see Palestinians, the photographs that emerge from Palestine, occupied Palestine, if you like, are always children behind barbed wire. You know, they are holding on like prisoners behind a cell. They're looking out through bars, and they're looking forlorn. Now, there is, I have included bundle number 8. And it's a series of articles, and yes, the blog is called, it's a series of articles titled Shattered Lands. Now, it's a critique of how photographs that report what is happening in Palestine have been framed, because we know that photography is an art. It's a lot of art and, well, a lot of science too, but mainly art. And as with all art, the artist can shift the perception and the view of the viewer based on how a photograph is taken. We know this easily because we know that if we take our own photographs and we just give that same camera, the exact same camera, to a person who does it for a living, the photos will come out much better. And of course, if a much better equipment is used, the photos come out astoundingly great. Now, I am moving straight away to bundle number 8, page 16. Bundle number 8, page 16, where it shows Palestinian children behind bars, where it's specifically shown that their hands are through the bars. And at page 17, the explanation is like this. This is one example of how wire agency photographers, this case AFP, resort to using camera angles and staging techniques to present a distorted and worse picture of a given situation. In the example above, it is clear that the photographer used this technique to project an image of Gazan children in prison. However, the sequence of photos taken from the same time from the same scene at the time illustrate how the effect was achieved. On June 25, 2011, a power plant in Gaza was shut down despite Israel's willingness to send the necessary fuel. Instead, Hamas and Fatah argued over who should pay. Gazans then protested the shutdown. Getty, picture agency, filed the following photograph and caption of the protest. The caption was, Palestinian girls holding candles during a march in protest against the lack of fuel to Gaza's power station and the continued power outages in the city, June 25, 2010, in Gaza City. Reuters covered the same protest and issued photos of the same girls as above, but the caption expressed a radically different motive for the protest. And it was, the caption was, Palestinian children hold candles during a protest in Gaza City. calling for an end to Israel's blockade of the Gaza Strip. So, there is a war of deception going on. We should not be blind to that. I move on now to the point of life in Gaza. I return to bundle number 6 at page 177. The photographs that appeared in pages 187 to 188, 189, 190, 191, 192 are what is supposed to be life in Gaza. So at page 187 it shows a fruit and vegetable market. At page 188 it shows sweets on sale at an outdoor market. There are 2 photographs. On page 189 it shows toys on sale at an indoor market and a cake shop and a bakery. In the next page 190 it shows another shop selling sweets, what looks like sweets. Page 191 it shows what appear 3 photographs. The top one appears to be a bakery, the bottom one somewhat like a bakery, and a barber shop, the last one. At page 192, a children's clothing store and a market. And at page 184, if we go back a little bit, page 184, there are 3 photographs, one with a Ferris wheel at the back, it looks like Fun Fest. There's a new shopping mall in the West Bank in the town of Janina. Okay, Plan Dalit. The historian, the witness, Ilan Pape, explained quite a lot about Plan Dalit. The D Dalit was D, so it's the 4th plan. Now, the intent of Plan Dalit is subject to a divergent opinions. And historians on the one side asserting it was entirely defensive, while the other side asserts it was ethnic cleansing. Now, we can obtain Plan Dalit. We can obtain Plan Dalit from the web. So the ease of which we can obtain that whole plan from it's a joint American-Israeli website, shows that there is nothing to hide about. If it was a secret plan about killing people, probably would want to hide it. It's available even now. It's really how the plan was interpreted. And that depends on whether you are a traditional historian or a new historian, as Ilan Pape has said it was, and where your political leanings are. The links with the statements by Richard Goldstone that we referred to earlier. I quote again, "Indeed, our main recommendation was for each party to investigate transparently and in good faith the incidents referred to in the report. Israel has done this, Hamas has done nothing." The statements of Dr. Wali, if we could remember from yesterday, referred to his source. It was questioned what was his source for the 730 checkpoints. He said the source was Israeli. Now, I'm just going to run through Muhammad al-Durrah, the incident in 2002, September 2000. Some would say that was the catalyst for the Second Intifada. That report came out this year, in May of this year. Yes, it's about 12 years too late. Now, the entire report from Israel of the Muhammad al-Durrah incident can be found at bundle number 6, starting at page 114. It's common knowledge. It's there. Everything is disclosed. Specifically, even the statement, the sworn statement by the photographer who photographed the event, was there, from which the event was found out. His statement is found at appendix number 5 of the report. Now, such a pattern of open disclosure by Israel on facts that are clear or could go against it, could be construed against them. It is inconsistent with the assertion that it is a state bent on committing war crimes, crimes against humanity, or genocide, especially since the experience of Nazi Germany. Now, conclusions. Let me just finish here as fast as I can. Are the Palestinians pure civilian victims? No. In the West, in Gaza, they support Hamas. Hamas is the government. And Hamas has been implicated for numerous acts that could be considered crimes against humanity, even war crimes. My reference is that the UNRWA, the refugee agency, itself condemned Hamas or of confiscating aid, food aid. That is at bundle 5, page 409 and 410. The letter that I was referring to, the Human Rights Watch letter to the EU foreign ministers, that is at bundle number 5, page 403. Now, since this is submission of defense amicus, I will highlight the part that Human Rights Watch talked about Hamas. Human Rights Watch is concerned about Hamas's rocket attacks on civilians, use of human shields, and violence against other Palestinians. Now, point is this, the simple point is this. The law does not distinguish between well-armed combatants or badly armed combatants, whether you have big rockets, tanks, or you're just using stones and a gun or two. It distinguishes between civilians and non-civilians. Now, if you do harm to civilians, you are a potentially war criminal. It's well established that there are among Palestinian population those who are combatants who either target or don't care if they accidentally target civilians in Israel. Now, acceptance of the fact that killing Israeli civilians is wrong needs to be the first step in healing, especially for civilian victims who are Palestinians. I hope I'm not out of line to quote the two verses, which I think are very, very important and relevant here. The first is from the Quran, Surah Al-Ma'idah, which is, I believe, the 5th book, verse 8. O you who believe, always be upright for Allah, bearing witness in justice, and do not let hatred of a people incite you to be unfair to them. Be fair. That is the nearest to taqwa, fear of Allah. Indeed, Allah is aware of what you do. The second verse, from Surah Al-Baqarah, 2nd verse 190. Fight in the cause of God those who fight you, but do not transgress limits, for God loves not transgressors. The cycle of violence must end. It should end. It has to. The conclusion of this trial may or may not bring closure for the Palestinian victims, but justice must be even-handed. I therefore urge the Kuala Lumpur War Crimes Commission to consider investigating reports or claims of war crimes violation committed against the Israeli civilian population, because that is wrong too. Before I end, allow me to say in my personal capacity that this trial and the preparation of it has taught me a lot. Words are important, especially in a cross-cultural context. My colleagues are from various nations, and where the bench and the bar and the witnesses are composed of various ethnicities, nationalities, and languages, the possibility for confusion is lurking at every corner. An extreme example, of course, is the IDF. To the Israelis, it means Israeli Defense Force. To the average Palestinian, it means Israeli Tech Force. To everyone who has followed this trial, if I have offended by word or deed, I apologize. I offer my sincere thanks. I know this is out of order. I offer my sincere thanks to my co-counsels for their assistance. I have been blessed. I have been blessed to be part to head this defense makers team. I move the tribunal for a verdict of not guilty against the accused, the State of Israel. Thank you.
Before you sit down, I need some clarifications. Very quickly, these are all related questions. Is Israel a signatory to the Convention Against Genocide?
Yes.
Has it ever repudiated it?
Not that I'm aware of.
Has Israel ever prosecuted any Israeli citizen for genocide in its courts?
Not to our knowledge. Thank you. We object any reply from the prosecution.
I wish to reply with the objecting that I replied to all these comments that they made quoting all this Helen Dershowitz and all this. because at the end of according to the charter, we're entitled to respond, and they have the right to reply. I'll be very short actually, only about 20 minutes.
I will also have some questions for both parties. Brief.
Your Honours, I would refer you to the Article 31 of the Charter, and in light of the consistent application of this Charter in this Honourable Court, Article 31 and Article 30, which must be read together, say, the prosecution shall thereafter close the case, followed by a reply from the accused or his counsel where present. That doesn't apply because the accused or counsel is not present. In Article 31 it says, in the absence of the accused or his counsel, the amicus curiae shall assist the tribunal by replying to the prosecution team. Now, two things must be considered from the way this is structured. First, it is the amicus that replies to the prosecution, not the other way around. And the second thing is, this charter is silent on whether the prosecution can reply to the defence. And in these circumstances, and in consistency with the rulings of this tribunal so far in this particular matter, we would submit and urge this Honourable Tribunal to not hear any further submissions in reply. I'm also requested on behalf of my co-counsel, you may have noticed he is wearing dark glasses at the bar table. He has a rare condition of photosensitivity to fluorescent light, and he apologises for the need to do that. If he doesn't, it will result in a debilitating headache.
I think, Your Honour, the position, Article 29 is very clear. It says that if there is a prima facie case, then there will be submissions from the amicus curiae, that is Article 29. Then Article 30 says the prosecution team shall thereafter close the case.
Say, Professor, that you have said all that needs to be said.
Yes.
You did say that yesterday.
I did, yes. And that was because I'm going to adopt because this prosecution team shall thereafter close the case. In the closing, I'm going to adopt the arguments that I've made and supplement them with a response to the defense. And then after that, they are entitled to a reply from the counsel for the amicus, Article 30. So Article 30 makes it very clear that after prima facie case submissions, then prosecution closes the case with a submission. Yes, so I'm adopting the arguments that I made in earlier, and I want to supplement them with short short responses to the statements made, some of the evidence made, just to put it in context by the defense.
If the Honourable Tribunal proceeds with that course, then we will reserve the right under Article 31 to reply to that as well, Your Honour.
If I may assist everyone about here, I'm inclined to agree with the prosecution because I'm relying also on past practices for the last 3 or 4 trials. When we call the defense of course will present this case, which we have done, I think, most everybody. And in my understanding of the articles is that the prosecution will then close, as in adopting your earlier submission, maybe responding a bit to what Jason has said. And then finally, of course, the last word comes. That was my understanding of these articles and the practice in the past.
Mr. President, the point is whether you would like to do it now or you want to do it after the lunch break.
I'm happy to do it now because it's quite short. So.
Mr. President,
20 minutes at most, 20 minutes. The others are closed definitely before 1. Yes. Between ourselves, we'll close before 1. Yeah.
Mr. President, yes. I would like to ask questions of both parties now, brief ones. And I think it would be better to do it before they close than if I wait and come as a surprise later. And the questions will be short. My first question to the parties is there evidence, which I haven't seen, or made arguments or discovered evidence as to the murder of Bashar Gemayel the day before the invasion, and whether or not Israel was responsible for that, could have been responsible for that, since he had stepped over the line for not following directly Israeli orders. You mentioned maybe no from both of you, or it could be that there is evidence on the case.
There is evidence in if it's read out, I read it out, it is in the Kahan Commission report. So the first part, yes, it is in the Kahan Commission report, we referred to in passing. On the part whether Israel is responsible, that I think is beyond our knowledge, so we have no answer there.
Thank you. Second question I have is, we heard conflicting evidence, or maybe supplementary evidence, as to the vantage point over Sabra and Shatila, and they talked about the military headquarters, and our first witness, who I think is don't see her today, but she talked about a military headquarters, and Dr. Ang mentioned the former Kuwaiti embassy, which was 5 or 7 floors. We know there's some confusion there, but were they in both, or were they in one? And what's the position of the parties on that, to that effect? I cannot understand fully.
The Kuwaiti embassy was actually used as the command post, and it is 7 floors, as suggested by Dr. Ang, and confirmed by the Kahan Commission report. 7 stories are.
Because your map, which you filed, does not follow that. You have a command center, which is, I don't know whether north. It's not the same place as the Kuwaiti. It's near the stadium. It's towards the stadium. Not in the stadium. It's towards the stadium.
Yes.
But now your position is that it was the Kuwaiti embassy, which was.
I'll just confer and get back on that point.
The third question was with respect to state committing genocide. The Bosnia-Herzegovina judgment, paragraph number, I don't remember. I can tell you in a minute. It talks about state responsibility being incurred when a group or an act which has the power to imply the state commits an act of genocide. That implies that Israel or the state is committing genocide. We are discussing among ourselves as to whether an overall policy is genocidal, and so maybe the parties could tell us what are the factors which incur state responsibility for genocide. Not clear. I'm not clear out now. All right. So, the Bosnia case, page 171. Thank you. Which I will open and read. It's actually paragraph 179. I'll read it slowly to you. All right. It's where they made the ruling that the state can be responsible, and it concludes, and I will read very slowly. Thus, if an organ of the state, or a person or a group whose acts are legally attributable to the state, commits any of the acts prescribed in Article 3 of the Convention, the international responsibility of that state is incurred. And Article 3 are the different types of crimes relating to genocide, complicity, inciting, etc. So that is that your position? I thought it would be. And is there also a position defendable, whereas a policy, a long-term policy, which is genocidal, for example, ethnic cleansing in the extreme, because we know that there's 2 versions of it, or destroying or killing or maiming or making the living conditions unlivable, is that also a way to incur responsibility for genocide. What would you say to that?
Our answer is yes, and I think we can get it from our bundle page, our bundle 2B, page 1056, 1052, 57.